Welcome back to Dark Nexus. Tonight, it is Act 2, Chapter 62. We pick up on the gray, murky afternoon of Wheel Day, the 7th of Neth. It's around 4 p.m., gathered on the Sullen Starling. Roni and Dora have finished their counseling session, and Roni just might be starting to ask himself some questions about exactly how much the dead Dr. Vaticus could really be behind everything that's going on, and how much Little Dabwood could really be a part of the grand conspiracy. I mean, he's still drinking the Kool-Aid, but he's probably starting to question the taste. Grip and Dabs have returned from their foray into town, bought and sold some loot, at least to the limited degree that this shuttered-up town would allow. It occurs to me that Centaur Rui would probably have asked to walk back to the ship with the two of you to do his daily rounds. And as you all are talking right now, he's probably down in the hold checking out Shuln, Cassandra, Little Pop, and Harrison Leak, the 4 souls that you saved from the cells below Fort Halecourse, seeing if they're ready to return to their families or whether they need some more bed rest in the care of a group of nurses. We left last time with some revelations that sprang up from Shuln's story about his time in the cells. Roni remembered some of the content of the play, The King in Yellow, and the ancient history of Carcosa that it tells. I'm picturing that this conversation has probably moved upstairs and away from everyone else. Roni's still sitting in that weird place of old knowledge finally coming into hazy view on the walls of his mind palace. Dora is probably reeling, I'm guessing. An old vision, one of the first in this campaign, just got placed into context for her. The vision of Eric and the violin, which she's still carrying. It took place in an unfamiliar city, but the large building that he was standing in front of that I was kind of a little sketchy about describing, now that you've got some context, is definitely a theater, or maybe it was an opera house. Unknown for sure, but it's immediately clear to her that some theater troupe in that unknown city, Paris, just got far enough into a production of The King in Yellow to unleash Carcosa upon that unknown place, Paris, in the middle of a war, and Eric was somehow trying to use the magic of his violin, or his own magic, unknown, to protect the people of Paris from the encroachment of Hastur's realm upon their planet. Did he succeed? Will she ever know? Hard to say. So we're still making some decisions about how to handle the adventuring portion of today, and hadn't fully wrapped up those conversations. But it was sounding, where we left it, like maybe clearing out the rest of Fort Halecourse will be the idea. We'll see. Since Roni and Dora have been holed up for therapy and Grip and Dabs were in town, I don't think conversations with the ship dwellers have happened much yet today, but they definitely can and will before you all leave for the day if you want them to. And before we pick up with the main party, I'm actually curious now about our backup buddies. They have also had a crazy day and a half. What's the past 24 hours or so been like for them? We haven't really checked in with them properly today.
Stasi has been contemplating her responsibility here.
With the people?
No.
Or the town?
With Bates.
Oh, boy.
So she's the arm of the Pharasman Church that does the unpleasant things,
yeah,
and doesn't complain about it, right? So if the accusers were here, what would they do with someone who from their perspective dragged a soul out of the process that is death? But Stasi is also not a Pharasman diehard. Like, she believes in the tenets, she knows her job, but the part of the job that she likes is the doing of things, the getting stuff done, having a list to check off, and easing the way for people.
Yeah, and we know
taking
that
in
the priestess
a 10-year-old kid
God.
for crimes against Pharasma is not really her bag.
Yeah.
A kid she fought against, she fought with, side by side, against the scum on the night of the Great Harvest.
Yeah.
She knows he did not mean to do this, that he was not trying to circumvent Pharasma's will, but he did.
Yeah.
And a soul suffered for it, based on what she heard and saw.
Yeah.
Ray didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
That's how she interprets.
He made that very clear.
Right. So she's been keeping to herself and trying to determine her responsibility here, because her moral center says, I can't take this kid in for doing something he didn't know he was doing. But she's also not someone who's going to go to him and be like, do you know what you did was wrong? Like, she's not that person either. That's someone else's job. So it's sort of leading to a crisis of her own faith, of what is my responsibility to the church? What is my responsibility to myself? What is my responsibility to my community? And I don't think she has an answer yet. But she's been keeping an eye on Bates and what he does and how he interacts with others on the ship.
Yeah, and the person to whom she would have, before any of this happened, to whom she would have most likely gone to...
is dead.
Yeah. Ask these questions to. She's gone.
Yeah.
And the equivalent person in town is gone. All of your authority figures in town are gone.
She is the authority figure on Pharasma right now.
Oh, boy.
And she does not want to be, for sure. That is not... She is not a decision maker. She is an executor of other people's plans. So in the absence of other people's plans, I said I came in this morning saying I did a lot of reading of Pharasma, and I didn't do like a ton of reading, but one of the best things that I read this morning was that one of Pharasma's things she does is promote the illusion of free will. She does not actually believe people have free will, that everything is fated, everything is going to happen the way it's going to happen no matter what. And yet she waits until someone is before her to pass judgment. Even though she knows exactly how a person's life is going to unfold, maintaining the illusion of free will for people is important to people. And she doesn't interfere with that. And I think that's where the part of the dogma that Stasi's contemplation is lingering today. Bates was going to do what he was going to do all along. She couldn't have stopped it. If he's going to do it again, he's going to do it again. She can't stop it. It's a very...
Well, that's not true.
Unless she's fated to stop it.
Unless she's fated.
To.
Yeah, in which case she doesn't have any choice anyway. Like, there is no choice. She doesn't have a choice. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. All she can do is figure out how she feels about that.
That is a... Let's label that as a pretty die-hard view that is not shared with the majority of the world.
Sure.
You know, Fate did actually die with Aradin.
Yes.
But Pharasma took up some of that portfolio.
Yes.
And I think this thing that Stasi's leaning into says a lot about Stasi's beliefs.
It does, yes.
It's great.
But that's the thing that means the most to her out of all of Pharasma's dogma.
That's
It
wild.
certainly does.
And what about Barnabas?
I think Barnabas felt the loss of Ray. I think more than anyone else on the boat that wasn't a part of the original four, he spent the most time around Ray.
Oh my God, so many days. He was in the party.
Yeah.
He was in the party.
Since
and
chapter 16.
So he has spent this last day furiously writing and singing to himself and writing. And he's been very aware that Dora has been in this therapy session or whatever. I don't know that he knows that that's what it's called, but he hasn't been wanting to intrude. Mm-hmm. But he is very aware as soon as you're done and would like to have a word in private with you, if you would not mind.
Of course.
First of all, I'm so sorry for the loss of Ray. I know he was important to everyone, but in our time... Also, when he walked up, I think he was originally in his natural form and then quickly shifted to human.
Yeah.
Thank you.
During our time together, I know you had a special bond. I do not know what it was, but I know you had something, so I'm very sorry.
Thank you.
He was a complicated man, I think, yes?
To be sure.
I have, assuming that we've been leveling at the same rate as the other party.
Yes.
Even though you've just been laying around here.
I have, but I have been watching, I have been seeing, my sweeping skill is increased dramatically. I have written a song, a new song. I have discovered a new song. It will be the Ballad of Ray. And those who hear it, I hope, will be able to gain some of his comfort and healing. But, Dora, I cannot help but notice how you have been scratching yourself, the back of your neck, yes?
Yes.
If you will forgive me for being presumptuous like this, it sometimes looks like a compulsion, not just a physical itch. I only say this because I have seen this before. Do you ever know the feeling of having a thing that you definitely want to say, but you know you cannot say it?
Yes, I know that it must not be said.
Of course, no. Of course it must not. I spent some time as a group called the Sentinel. Well, before that, I was at the Syncomactic school. I was thirsty for knowledge, you know. I want to know everything that there is, to learn about the demons and where they come from and how to fight them. And I found this tome once that was... I had the feeling in the back of my head, do not read this tome, do not read it. But of course, I kept reading, and then I saw a name. I think you know what I'm saying.
I know the name you're referring to.
I immediately destroy this book because I know it cannot ever be seen. I found this group called the Sentinel, who also, I had a lover once who, unfortunately, knew the same things that we know. She found this group, the Sentinels, who they all knew this name. And their plan was to provide a merest trickle of devotion to the enemy, to the invader. But in the meantime, focus the majority of their strength to make sure this name never gets spread. And we would try to dull memory with magics and drugs, and it worked, and it seemed like a home, and it seemed like a place that we could do it. But then I learned that the ultimate end for everyone in this group is to be sacrificed to the enemy. And so I ran away. I ran away to Briarstone, where I tried to dull my brain with drugs, and it worked for a very long time. Until the earthquake, and then I woke up. Am I correct in assuming that the rest of you knows this name too?
Roni does. Grip does. But not Dabwick.
Understood.
Ray knew it too.
Well, thank you for letting me talk to you. I thought maybe you would want to know the three of you are not alone in this.
I thank you. Did you ever find any reliable means of suppressing it, short of drugs and senselessness?
No, we did not. They made it seem like that was something you could find the longer you spent with the Sentinels, but no.
Who intended to sacrifice them?
Whoever was still in the group. I mean, eventually everyone would, as you grew in the group, as your standing as a group increased, you would start to learn, and you take on the responsibility of it is now your job to send people on their final way.
Perhaps there is somewhere we can safely learn more about our condition and how to put an end to it. short of giving in to it.
That is my hope as well.
That seems rather like a Book 6 thing. But we'll see, I suppose.
I have not read this book yet.
Don't read any books in general. It's very, very dangerous.
No, I have given up. I just write songs now.
I look forward to hearing your Song of Ray. And I thank you again.
Of course.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Is it that every single death of someone who knows the name helps sort of open the world up a little bit more to Jamandor? Like bridging that gap? Or is it just the knowing? Or are we aware of that?
Yeah, I think you would understand it based on the check that you made back in Jane's den there. You would understand it as the moment of knowledge is a blossoming seed that helps Jamandor grow larger. If enough people know it, then it can get big enough to consume the world, basically. Or if enough people pour enough worship into it. But it does seem like killing people that know the name, does stop the flow of energy.
Prunes the branches.
Yeah.
So that was
okay.
the Sentinel's ultimate goal. Kill everybody who knows the name.
The Sentinels were actually hoping to keep Jamandor asleep, essentially. Like the thought with that cult is put enough devotion, a thin trickle of devotion to keep it dulled and slumbery and like it's like
It's like a
being
methadone
fed.
amount
Yeah,
of
it's
devotion.
like lulled into
complacency.
complacency.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that means they're actively
They're
worshiping,
worshiping it,
and then
yeah.
at a certain point, like Barnabas said, at a certain point, they would get far enough along where the rest of and it's a cult. We'll call it a cult. The rest of the cult felt like now this person has to be killed because they now are too great a risk.
Yeah.
Because they know too much, they're too deeply connected, they maybe have transformed enough, whatever. Yeah.
They might, and I also thought maybe if you reach a certain point, even if you were trying to keep it at bay, you get to a certain point where it's like, fuck it,
Yeah.
spring break, woohoo!
Yeah.
Jamandor.
Yeah.
So when we look at it that way, what we're really saying is Reese is kind of the hero of the story.
She has begun the necessary process
Tima
of killing
is the hero of the
all
story
of you.
because she ordered the hits.
All right.
Yeah, it's a messed up little subculture of Jamandor worship where they're good people. Like they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to keep the enemy, as they call it, from awakening and acting. But of course, they're doing
very
what they're
risky
doing.
behavior.
It's very risky to them and to the ultimate end of not waking it up.
That's messed up.
It's very messed up.
Oof. Oh, great.
So just think that little fox you were holding on your lap had Jamandor in its head the whole
time.
You could have had
Thank you for
conversations.
never mentioning
oh
it.
my gosh. Yep.
The fox Jamandors.
Yep.
The whole time he was saying Jamandor.
Oh, that's dark. That's very dark.
I love it.
So speaking of dark, what's going on with Bates?
Bates, that sweet 11-year-old boy,
Oh yeah.
has been wrestling with just massive amounts of guilt and responsibility and
Good.
thinking that everything that he had sort of relearned about himself is all wrong, and that what his dad and what the priests of Pharasma said way back at the beginning were all right. And he is just, he's still a little kid. 11 is old enough to know some things, but not enough to actually carry the weight and responsibility of those things.
Yeah.
And I think that he has been sort of keeping an eye on the room where Ray's body is.
Right.
And has anybody been in there? Is Tolman in there?
Yeah,
or-
I think Tolman probably spends a lot of the time there, looking over him in communion and just being the one to keep it safe until they figure out.
Stasi would
Joining that occasionally. Yeah. So maybe they're taking shifts. Doing that.
Well, then I
like that
think
idea.
that he tries to wait for a time where Tolman leaves and Stasi doesn't tag in, where it's like a little bit of a break,
Sure.
so he can kind of like sneak in.
Oh, okay.
So I think he sneaks into
little private moment with Ray's body.
moment with Ray's body, and he goes in. And what does Ray's body look like now?
We're about 24 hours in, or a little more than a day in, but the body is beginning its natural process, and probably at this point we have. I can see Tolman checking in with Skywin about maybe there's some incense or something they can get to burn in there to keep
Deal with the smell.
And he was very well cared for and cleaned up by both Roni and Tolman. So I think, he looks as peacefully at rest as that poor troubled soul could look.
He was already rotting too, though.
I don't know that
Got worse.
got worse.
But it was like a one-time affliction. This is what is
Or, part of that was this connection to Shaylin.
just gone.
Whatever this connection to Shaylin was, that was part of the bargain or the agreement or the whatever, and that was cut when he died. And so I think, in addition to the powers now being lost, I think the curse is
Or
lifted.
it could be the opposite, is that the body was primed for decay, and the magic being gone is the only thing that
Kept
stopped
it
it from getting worse.
Oh, wow.
In which case, Ray's in a very sad state this time. Without the soul and without the connection. That would be what
That's
Dora
fun.
would expect to see if she
Yeah.
if she went anywhere near there, which she doesn't.
Oh, let's go that way. So, troublingly rotting,
Oh, gosh.
aggressively decomposing.
So he walks in and sees that, and probably that's not something that they've made anybody aware of.
Oh, no.
And so he just probably I can imagine like a sheet or something.
Yeah.
And he goes in sort of like a mouse and is going to pull the sheet back to look at Ray's face.
He hears a voice. Don't you touch that.
Who's there?
From the other side of the body, crouched down below it, you see Maeve stand up wearing her tiara. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I asked you first.
You're not supposed to be in here.
You're not supposed to be in here.
Neither of us are supposed to be in here. Keep your voice down.
Don't tell me what to do.
Stasi is rolling a cigarette at the other end of the ship on her
Blissfully
way.
unaware.
She's like, "Oh, I gotta get over there and take my time, have a smoke first."
Were you gonna touch it? The body? Were you gonna touch it? Is that what you were gonna do? That's sick, man.
I was going to look at him.
Oh. I was looking at him too.
All right, well, we can look at him together.
Okay. She kind of gets up and puts herself together and sulks up to the...
Do you want to pull back the sheet together, like on the count of 3?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Who's gonna count?
You count.
Should I count down or should I count up?
Just count.
1, 2, 3.
What happened to him?
He died, dummy.
No, I mean his face. Look at him. He's all...
This is what happens when you die.
Not like that. I lived on a farm. You don't look like that a day after you died.
Oh, I thought you did.
No. I mean, he looks kind of squishy almost.
Yeah, he looks sad.
He looks real sad.
Why would his body be so sad?
It was me.
What was you?
I did it.
You've never done anything in your life.
It was me. I did it. It's my fault.
What's this? No, somebody killed him in the street.
No, not. I didn't kill him, but I'm saying the reason that he looks like this, that's my fault. I trapped him here. That was me.
No, Bates. He's an angel now because of what you did. You made him an angel.
An angel?
Yeah. he's gonna fly backwards in time.
Angels can do that?
Well, that's when I saw him. Weeks ago.
He didn't look like this, though, right?
No. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't yelling. I don't know that he looked happy, but he didn't look mad.
Well, that's something.
He was flying through the wall.
He was flying through the wall?
Yeah, and he was glowing.
Like when I made him appear.
Different. I could see through him.
Yeah, you could see through him here too, yeah.
But you could touch him here. That was that sticky stuff. He was light. It was pure light.
Maybe he's still changing.
Maybe he is. But you didn't know what you were doing.
I didn't.
You didn't know.
I didn't know.
None of us knew. I mean, I knew, and I tried to tell everyone. But nobody listens to me.
No one listens to me either.
I don't know why we're not all up in that fort.
We should be in that fort.
Flying dragons to the moon from the fort.
How's that going to help with the fort?
Because we'll get reinforcements from the moon. This is boring. She starts to go.
Maeve.
What? What?
I just want to say thank you.
Take a knee.
What?
Get down on your knee.
Why am I? All right. I'm getting on my knee. Fine.
She very dramatically pulls out a stick sword she has tucked through her belt. Dabs it on each shoulder once. I dub thee Sir Bates, servant of Maeve and protector of the realm. You may not know what you're doing, but you're a good shot. Now get out there and fight some monsters.
All right. Thanks, Maeve.
We got fishmen to kill. Let's go
Oh.
kill some fishmen.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
What?
I saved some of the fishmen guts. And I think if we tie them to Brenton, we could play fishmen and knights.
Brenton. Hey, Brenton.
And Stasi wonders why she sees the two kids scampering below decks, hollering Brenton's name.
These children are too much. She goes to take up her post.
Oh my God, what a weird life for these
everybody.
kids.
Oh yeah.
Maeve is the best, by the way. She's the single best character in this entire 62 episodes that we've put together. She's
That was lovely,
my
guys.
She is very
favorite.
sure of herself.
Yeah.
That was really fun, guys.
Yay, hope. There's some hope.
She's a little budding cleric of Grotus. Dragons on the moon.
Dragons on the moon.
That's the Ray song.
So let's circle back to the main gang as they are finishing up that conversation where Roni is explaining these new details about Carcosa. And we're sitting on, we're still at the tail end of this conversation. What do we do today? How are we going to go about doing it? We know Dabs has to meditate in, about an hour or so, a little after 5. The sun will set. Where have all those revelations left this conversation?
I just want to make sure I understand. So Dabs does their prep, then it would be overnight, and then it's the next day is this tea party, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow is... So basically, we're thinking at the moment, after the way the sleep schedule has fallen, given the very long night and the addition of Dabs, our adventuring block now seems to be basically 4 p.m. to midnight. Our sleeping block seems to be midnight to 8, and our other stuff block seems to be basically 8 to 4.
Speaking of the other stuff,
Yeah.
block very quickly, just to put this in someone's ear.
Yeah.
I believe Stasi is available for counseling too.
Oh.
She has a very good wisdom score.
That's great. Let's take advantage of that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be some bleak therapy, though.
Yes, it absolutely will be. It will be tough
It will
love.
cut you to the bone.
She will be pretty stoic about it, but ultimately the things she says make sense.
Yeah, that's a great resource. So we've got
Yeah.
Tolman,
Grip,
we've got
I
Stasi.
bet Grip and Stasi would be a great
Oh, that's a fun duo.
therapy team.
All right, I'll be the good cop.
All right. Whatever you say.
Well, I know that they went shopping and stuff, but did that take up their entire...
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
their slot.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's their slot.
All right.
Because we had some heart-to-hearts, too. So it's
Understood.
true.
Understood.
I'm just very worried about Grip's sanity all the time. So just if that's something we want to...
What am I at? 10 right now?
8.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And he's just, his threshold is low, so we
But
have
where does it get bad again? Like, what number do I have to hit to get a new madness
Well,
or
I don't
something?
know that you want to know that.
21.
I got a little,
Just like in blackjack.
See, I
You got a little leeway.
I got a cushion. Bring it on.
Although,
But things happen in the interim between 8 and 21 that make
and
it...
the last couple of times,
To make it
it's
harder.
been kind of wallops of
Yeah.
sanity damage.
Fair enough.
Book 1
I
was
took
kind of like,
17
hey.
once,
Yes, that's right.
by the way, which puts you at 25.
Yeah, which would have you out of this campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the moment, Grip's got 8, Dora has 5, Roni has 4, and our buddy Dabs has 0.
So
right.
far.
So far.
So far.
You need a days without incident.
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
So what are we doing? The last thing we had talked about was taking the bodies back.
Yeah, taking the bodies from Gladiolus Hill back to the Sleepless Agency people, letting them sort of deal with letting people know and dealing themselves with the confirmed loss of Cassadia rents. And we spoke of, Dora was pretty staunch last week against going up to the fort. However, it is now not 10 o'clock on a very hot night in real life. So Katie is more flexible about clearing out the fort and getting these people on the ship to a safer place, probably under the care of Stasi and Barnabas and anyone who wants to stay.
Let's think. I think I am, to your point, Johnny, that 8 hours is a long time. I'm comfortable with thinking of Grip and Dabs as being able to, maybe with Centaur Rui, take those bodies down to the Sleepless Agency and take care of that part of this during the course of the day.
Great.
Letting them know, so they've got that information. They know that, Cassadia is dead. They can start working to take care of those bodies and let their folks know and stuff. Let's picture that as having been done as part of this first chunk of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're right. It's a long time. 8 hours is a long time.
We need to talk about the invitation to Iris Hill.
I think going to that is a terrible idea.
I do too. I think going to anything on anyone else's terms is a terrible idea. Certainly going at the time they want us to go there is a terrible idea. But there are interesting things about the invitation that Dora has noted, most remarkably who it is addressed to, which is not us, right?
They don't know.
They don't know. They think we are a wizard, a rogue, and a whatever the hell.
an
that
unchained
boy's-
barbarian.
Unchained barbarian, right?
Mostly fighter.
So they know
Sorry.
that is an advantage to our side. All of the other advantages are on their side. They know where they are. They know who they are. They know what they want. They know how to get in and out of the fort, and we don't know any of that. So,
Out of Iris Hill.
yes, I'm sorry, out of Iris Hill. They also have an astral projection that could drive us all insane with one go. So,
You think they control that?
well, I think she's from there.
That doesn't
who
mean
knows?
they control it.
We don't know anything.
Dora.
Is what I'm saying. Yes.
If you want to know more about the lay of the land up in Iris Hill, I do have a spell I could prepare.
Oh, is it commune with Earth?
No, it's insect spies.
What the heck is that?
Sounds delicious, to be honest.
Over a period of time, I could send some insects to go get information, details about where this place is, and give us a little bit of information.
Yeah, but I think you'll find I love any spell that gives us more information about what we're walking into.
I've started to notice that about
Yeah.
you.
Tell us about that spell, Paul.
Yeah. Insect scouts. A favorite In the creaking courts of Ustalov, insect scouts summons one or more vermin to investigate a single location of building you can see. Your scouts must spend 1d6 hours investigating the target location, but need no oversight. When done, they return unerringly to you with their findings, traveling up to 1 mile per caster level. Each insect size is fine. Each insect has 1 hit point, AC 20, a movement speed of 5 feet, climb speed of 5 feet, and a fly speed of 20 feet. Perfect maneuverability. The insects use your saving throw bonuses.
This is fantastic.
Each scout that returns passes along memories of specific structural flaws, defenses, and alarms, granting you the ability to re-roll 1 failed skill check per scout, as long as a skill check involves that specific location's layout, such as a stealth check to sneak in, a disabled device check to silence an alarm, or a perception check to notice a trap. If 1 scout returns, you also gain a rough understanding of the building's layout, at least any portions your scouts could access. All insight and the associated rerolls fades 1 hour per caster level after the scouts return. Your insects remember nothing about creatures, and so provide no information about guardians or any conversations they may overhear.
Still a winner, I think. What level spell is that?
2nd level druid spell.
I don't suppose you have it. You don't have it prepared now. So
No,
it
I
would
don't. I have
happen
to.
after.
It would be afterwards. Yeah.
Well, that's super fun. That's super fun.
So if you prepare it tonight, we do it in the morning.
Yeah,
That would be.
that would give us a lot of information before we go.
That's
But it's one building, right? Not like it wouldn't be for the whole compound.
Single location or building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you get the layout of the
He's going to
compound.
give it to us.
Okay.
that's very
Stop
powerful.
questioning it.
Could even send it overnight.
But it could take as little as 1 hour. Too,
Right.
So
Sure.
All right, so if we don't want to go to the tea party, what if we make a counteroffer? Invite him someplace where we have some.
I'd like to look at the invitation a little bit more carefully, if that's all right.
Aye.
I mean, you've got it in your hand.
Dora casts Detect Psychic Significance
Hmm.
on the invitation.
It is radiating a certain degree of psychic significance. It is quite warm to your hand, despite the fact that it was only penned, presumably, last night. It's had a very short period of time, but something about the circumstances of its creation does seem to carry some weight.
I have psychometry available to me today.
Ooh.
I was going to ask to perform it on that spell book we've been carrying around for 2 weeks now, but I think it's more urgent to do this.
Go for it.
So, we gather back up in Skywind's hold. Is Dabwick part of this one now?
Oh boy. Well, that's horrible. What a horrible question. They're coming with us. So I feel the need to preface this.
Yeah.
Do you want just this offer from Polly to Katie to consider? Maybe you want to do this while Dabwick is preparing spells.
Huh. Both. Yeah, it's a choice any which way, Katie. Include them or exclude them.
Yeah, Dora, do you think we, hey, Dora, come here.
I'm right here.
No, come here.
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah,
Nothing,
what are you
nothing.
talking about?
I just,
I might go do this by myself.
Oh, no.
Greb's like, oh, no, you're not.
what's the big deal?
Well, you know how it works.
Yeah?
Where I speak, of what I see.
Oh. Roni looks over at Dabwick.
Has Dabwick seen Dora do any psychometry so far?
Psychometry? No. Skywind has.
Right.
Oh.
But it was not a good experience.
Skywind probably would have shared that you can do this with Dabs, because that was like... And then she had to back out of the room, right? Because it got weird.
Yeah.
I think Grip might have picked up on, I think he knows what you want to do
Yeah.
the reading. After the walk that he had with Dabs yesterday, he is going to, like, I think he can see Roni being like, oh, should we trust them? And he will say, look, we can fucking trust this halfling, and if they're going to travel with us, they need to know what we're about. So, Dabwick, if you want to come with us, Dora can say no, because this is her thing that she does. But I think if you want to know what we're about, come with us and listen to what's about to happen.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Grip, and I'm inclined to invite you, Dabwick, but I want to be clear. If you have any questions, I hope you will ask them and not simply pass judgment on what you hear. I don't know what it will be, but I would like you to trust me. What you hear may belie that.
I know you're trying to protect me. I can see that, and I appreciate it. And I also feel that I really need to know what's happening.
Then as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome. But I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can I stop the psychometry at any time during?
No. Right? Haven't we established that? Like,
I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried. I'm just thinking, like, if someone in that vision starts to say the X name, I want to stop it.
Okay. Let's.
Can we make a roll for it or something?
We can. We can use the mechanic that you use to.
The
concentration mechanic to release team up.
I've never even thought about that.
Okay.
To stop. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Dora's biggest concern.
Yeah.
I hate to do this, but I feel like I have to make a sense motive against Grip.
Oh, great.
Because he just spoke
Roll
up.
it.
He just
Roll
spoke
it
up for
in
him.
defense of the grand conspiracy.
23.
All right. You're good. You're good. You know. I mean, you
I trust
all are
him.
brothers. You trust him.
He's my brother. Yeah.
He's clearly delusional.
He just doesn't understand.
Yes, you haven't explained it well enough.
Understand.
Love it.
Okay, print up some pamphlets. I'll take a look at them.
So we gather up in Skywind's hold for the first psychometry vision that Dabwick has been a part of. And this ritual that has become sort of old hat for the rest of the group is seen for the first time through fresh eyes. Why don't you paint the picture for us again, Katie, what this looks like, what you do, and how somebody who's never seen it might perceive it.
Dora sits cross-legged on the floor. She has her crystal and the invitation there. And she goes into a meditative state. The crystal begins to glow.
Without casting any spell.
Without casting any spell, yeah. She, it's very peaceful. And then she begins to speak at some point, as if narrating the events she has seen.
Yeah, and I think, like, this is eyes roll back in the head.
Yeah.
She's completely...
It's scary.
It's scary. Shadows bouncing off the walls of the small room.
It's your seance.
Yeah.
And I would think in moments of intense emotion within the vision, I would think that things on the walls might shake. And
I think so. I absolutely think so.
The atmosphere might get thick and you would feel it.
Yeah. Sure. That there is...
the presence of a vignette happening in the room, but only she can see it.
Energy in the air, power in her voice.
Yeah, we talked about this before, and I remember one of the questions was, is this something you could do quietly?
And we determined that it is not.
Yeah.
Or that basically... we've got this. Let's use this concentration mechanic now. If you want to do it any other way than how we've established, you got to try.
I'm 6th level now. I should be able to control my shit a little bit.
We'll see. So, Dora holds the invitation in her lap as the light of the crystal illuminates the space, which grows weirdly dark around the edges of the crystal's light. And after a minute of concentration, give me that perception check, Katie.
Natural 20. 32.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Dora reaches out into the flow, the river of time. Images are passing by, and they're gone because this object has barely existed. Dora sees a once elegant sitting room, the same one from the visions of the bone-handled dagger. Tall windows, fireplace, round tables surrounded by 8 high-backed chairs, books everywhere. The house of a hoarder. Again, Melisande is sitting at her desk in the northeast corner. A gorgeous, elegant beauty in a spotless orange dress. Similar setup as the last visions, but there are two notable differences this time. Number one, Melisande seems far from serene and in control. She looks pissed. She is gnawing at the inside of her lip as she pens this invitation. She's a pro. She's an utter pro, so the lines of calligraphy aren't showing any sign of her tension, but she is livid. Number two, there's someone with her this time. Someone? Something? I'll let you decide. The head of a pale elven woman with long, silky black hair floats in the air next to her, trailing a 4-foot-long sticky trail of spine and gore and viscera from the ragged stump of her neck like a long grisly tail.
Jesus.
This head is flying, and quickly it's darting around like a jittery bat. Blood leaks from this tail of gore all over the floor, and now it's obvious that the carpet in this room is just sticky and matted with blood. The head speaks. How it produces sound without a voice box or lungs is completely unknown. I don't understand. What is the purpose of this party? Melisande flashes the head, an annoyed glare. There is no party, Rumatri. Don't be an idiot. Ah, a ruse then. Yes. They rest up and spend tomorrow preparing to meet us on Oath Day. They'll like that idea. A day of meetings and pacts. They'll buy it. It seems plausible and civilized. And they no doubt think we're licking our wounds. Instead, we moved tomorrow after midnight. All of us, all together, all at once, while they sleep. And we end this. By the time Oath Day dawns, we'll have what we need again. Melisande delicately signs her name to the invitation, places a perfect little dot above the I. Rumatri flits around to get in front of Melisande's face. Face stares into bodiless face. What about Wherein? Will she join us? She must. But what about her project? She's still down in the crypt, and I think her device is funny. I don't care about her fucking project! This outburst, perhaps more than anything else, speaks to Melisande's state of mind. This is a woman who does not lose her cool. The floating head of Rumatri darts back and eyes Melisande coldly. Melisande collects herself. She serves the king in yellow, just as we all do. Tell her the plan. She will join us. She must. Rumatri drifts off as Melisande pauses and then dashes off the postscript to the invitation, and the vision ends.
What was the postscript?
Don't be a stranger.
Right.
So, can I just clarify the timeline? They want us to come to them at 4 tomorrow so that at midnight tomorrow night they can come take everybody on the ship and perform the Great Harvest all over again.
Midnight tonight.
No,
Tonight.
they want you to rest up today, and while you're resting up, take you before you're prepared. Think that they want you thinking tomorrow's the day everything's going down.
Yeah.
And they'll
It's
hit you
happening
first.
tonight.
So this ship needs to sail, and we need to get elsewhere with anybody who's staying behind. And then just not be here, right?
If
They
that
know
presumes
about-
you're the targets.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
their targets
sure.
could be anybody
Right,
in town.
but I don't want them to take the kids,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
well, I'm going to protect the ones I know about. They know about Roni's house, maybe? Or maybe not. What do we think the odds are that they...
Scum were living there.
So they know about the house. Ford isn't clear. Jesus. Every option is bad, as usual. Is that what I'm to understand?
What if we clear out the keep and stay there?
Right, I'm just saying we have to leave them to clear out the keep.
Agreed.
So anybody, I think they should leave, and that
Agreed.
anybody who's staying behind should go somewhere else.
But did the plan that she was laying out, did that say they were going to come around like after midnight tonight,
So,
right?
yeah.
Right. So we
all of
have
them-
a little bit of time, but I don't think we can count on us leaving, clearing out the keep after dusk, and getting back here on time and getting everybody there. Like, that feels like a very tight timeline.
But I mean, I guess not if you're talking in terms of rounds.
No, we
like
just
clearing,
don't know. Like,
but-
we don't know how we're going to get in. There's still 4 or 5 of the undead bowmen there, and we've been gone for many hours. So they've, with whatever they had, they could be repurposing the keep, repopulating the keep, respawning the keep, whatever. So we don't know how long we're going to be in there. We were in there way longer than we planned on last time.
But again, in terms of
And
like,
getting in
if
is a
you're
problem.
talking between 6:30 at night and midnight, we weren't there nearly that long.
No,
So, like, yes, it might be a very long encounter.
I just
but
don't think we should
we're-
leave. I don't think we should leave anybody on the boat unattended for any amount of time. We don't know what
But where
information
is there-
gathering they have, like whatever.
If we haven't cleared the fort out yet, where would people go?
There's the Sleepless Agency. There's the book layers. There's places we'd have to go somewhere they wouldn't expect. So I think Roni's house is out. But
Book Layers seems viable. You have not really talked to anybody about that as
yeah.
a place that you've
And
occasionally
so
dipped into.
We'd have to count on Stasi, Barnabas, and Bates to sort of keep anyone who's saying safe. It might just be the 3 of them. Who knows?
And Skywin.
And
Well,
no,
Skywin would
I'm
be
saying
taking
Skywin
the
should
ship,
leave
probably.
with everybody who's going to leave. I think the boat should leave as soon as possible.
Or do we want to keep the boat, get everybody off of it, and use it as bait?
Is an idea?
I'm not going to speak for Skywin, but I doubt that they'll
Be thrilled about
be thrilled about
using
that.
their boat as bait. Yeah.
Plus, you're relocating a lot of people, aren't you?
Yeah. The Briarstone refugees are. I think they should leave.
Skywind's ready to go. They have no reason to really stay, except they've been waiting on this shipment that just seems to never come.
So we should find out who's staying behind.
Yeah.
The book layers is a temporary measure until we clear out the fort. But then at least we're operating from a more defensible position.
Is there a... Do you know anything about a philanthropist in this town? If there was someone like a Myacnean Mun here, or something like that.
What did you say?
Like a philanthropist. Like
I'm sorry, the name.
Myacnean Mun.
How do you know that name?
Oh, he's a wonderful man. He's a really well-known philanthropist in Casimir.
Really?
Oh, very well known, very well loved. He's provided for refugees countless times. Very well known. Why? Have you heard of him before?
Vaguely.
Well,
It is not a name I associate with trust or good intent.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Really?
Yeah.
Dora does not want to go down this rabbit hole right now. But boy, that threw her for a loop.
Oh, okay. Now I remember who this is.
Yeah. It's from that one vision of all the philanthropy.
Yeah. And the death orgies and the mass weddings
brimming
and
with philanthropy.
Jesus.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Oh.
Do you know
that's
him
interesting.
personally, Dabler?
Oh, yeah. I've actually done a little work for them myself. A little ratting work, a little cleaning up.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
You know,
Oh no.
God.
Oh no.
And I look over at Dora.
Oh god. That's terrible.
Well, Dora can allow for the possibilities of two
Sure.
things being true, so she's
Sure.
not too worried about Roni thinking she's turned to his side, but she does want to know more.
it was actually, I'm just realizing this, but it was in Mun's house, his mansion, that I first saw Carcosa. in a painting. In his
Painting like the ones you've seen here?
no, different artist. So very detailed angles and curves, and I remember the yellow, and I remember the shapes, and I didn't know at the time, but it was Carcosa. Fascinating.
Dabwick, when you think of Carcosa, what feeling does it inspire within you?
Oh, well, I mean, inspiration's a good word for it. I mean, really, think of it like what I see are these mysterious like angles and curves and power, this kind of combination of cities from all over the universe like coming together. It's fascinating. It's almost mesmerizing. I'm so curious.
Grip takes a small step closer to Roni.
Not a metaphor. And do you trust that feeling, Dabwick?
The city's never steered me wrong before.
Not all cities are the same.
Well, it's a city.
Would it surprise you if I told you that when I think of Carcosa or see images of it, it fills me with unease
Oh,
and more than a bit of dread?
well, what are you worried about?
You would like to know, wouldn't you?
Not all cities are the
that's
same.
why I asked. What do you mean not all? I mean, of course, not all
Cities
cities are
have
the same.
souls, do they not? Cities have character. Cities have...
Yes, quite. Spirit. Yes.
So
there's
just as people, they are not all the same. They are not all good. Some cities are not meant to be.
A city that stole from every other city in the world, in all the worlds, and took and took and took. This is what inspires you?
No, it wasn't like that. That's not the way it is. It's like a reflection. It's like a multi-layered reflection. It's not stealing.
Yeah, like that mirror thing was a reflection.
If it's such a great fucking place, my friend, why is it all these people that came out to kill us, that's where they stepped through, was from Carcosa? Why do you think that is?
Well, I understood they stepped through a painting or some kind of. They were using these towers, these stone pillars,
The
right?
stela.
Yeah, the stela. What do you mean? Why are you? You're all very upset.
We don't believe Carcosa is a good place. And I have very serious concerns about anyone who would hang a portrait of it in their home.
Oh.
Surely you understand.
I understand, but I'm confused. I'm disoriented.
Did you the vision we just heard, you remember? The reading that she just
Yes,
did.
with the invitation.
You heard them mention the king in fucking yellow, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think that's a good person? Did you get that impression?
No.
The king in yellow is inextricably, what's that fucking word, Dora?
Inextricably.
Inextricably tied to Carcosa.
It's their city?
I don't know that much, but they're all intertwined.
And you're saying they're stealing. This city stealing other cities.
Yeah, they're trying to steal Thrushmore.
That's what's wrong with this place.
Yes. The murders, kidnappings, it's all been to that end.
Do you suspect they were going for They were going for Casimir too?
I don't know. But I don't think they'll settle for just a few cities here and there. I
must know more about Carcosa. And I'm with you. I don't pretend to know what. I don't know everything, obviously, but I'm trying, and I don't want to do what's wrong. I want to do what's right.
All we ask is that you keep an open mind.
Will you teach me? Will you please keep teaching me about Carcosa, what you know, when you know it?
Yes, I will. But I would be wary of a man like Macne and Munn. People are not always what they appear to be.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yes, we often have not been what we appear to be.
Well, I need to get prepared. The sun is starting to go down, and what are we doing tonight?
All right, so we should poll the ship to find out who is staying behind and who is leaving.
I mean,
And I think if they're prepared to sail, we should send those who are leaving on their way.
I don't think that we can afford to use any resources to clear out the keep. I think that whether they sail away or they sail away for like the day and then maybe come back, like that's a different thing. But if we're gonna not worry about the people on the ship, then we should go directly to the fort and try to ambush them.
What resources are we using by sending them away?
To Iris Hill and ambush them, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, take the fight to them before they come to
Take
you.
the fight to them
Oh,
before they come to us.
Okay. Huh. Mm-hmm.
But if we go and spend any resources to try to clear out the fort, then we're spending resources when we know we're going to have a giant fight later on.
So I will say, Skywin, if, Skywin is perfectly willing to take the ship out into the lake and come back in a day.
That's what I'm saying.
If that's what you're thinking, Johnny.
Great.
Yeah.
Just like to get it out of here.
But I would like to have the fort on our side.
I get you, but if
And I don't want to go to Iris Hill without scouting it.
I'm not saying go to it without scouting it. I'm saying that is our new objective, is to go there and hit them before they hit us, or wait for them to come out, and when they're coming out, we take them then.
One option is, of course, once Dabs casts this insect spies, like, they could be back in an hour, in which case you have plenty of time to make this decision with knowledge of the layout.
Yeah.
And if
They
it
also
turns
could
out
be back in 6
we're right, in
hours.
which case, but that may be a decision that you can postpone until after Dabs
Yeah.
gets those things going, if you
Yeah.
want to.
Great. So the first thing that we'll do is send the spies, the scouts.
First thing is Dabs got to prepare, but yes.
Well, I mean after that.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. And then continue the conversation once you start to see.
What the lay of the land is.
Yeah.
Are we sending the ship out to sea regardless?
Yes, because I think what they want is more bodies to sacrifice at the Stella. So as many bodies as we can clear out of Thrushmore and their grasp, the better.
Would you be willing to let me go prepare while you help
Yes.
with the boat? It'll only take me an hour.
Of course, yes.
I just need some time alone. Are you okay with that, Roni?
Of course I am.
Good.
I tap myself with the invisibility wand and follow him.
No resources.
I know I'm teasing. I'm not actually going to do that. If it lasted for hours, I would. But it would only be minutes.
Amazing.
Before I forget,
Yeah.
and while we're still on a lingering topic of psychometry, does Dora have a sense of whether or not there is more to be gleaned from that violin? Remember how the dagger, she got a low roll and didn't get...
She does not.
She does not think there's more to be gleaned.
And the violin was not magical.
The violin is not magical.
Doesn't mean it
Do
wasn't.
recall, like,
Yeah.
all of your starting equipment had previously been magical.
Ah.
And so it's possible,
It was magical.
could be, yeah, unknown. It's certainly masterwork. We know
If
that.
Barnabas ever sees it, he's going to want to play it.
Right.
Does his perform strings? Would that
Yeah.
count?
Barnabas has almost certainly seen it.
Oh, of course. Yes.
I've been carrying it around the whole time.
It doesn't have a bow, I will say that.
Yeah.
It's just the violin, no bow.
Right.
Be
But
plucked.
Barnabas could be working on making a bow. He would certainly know how to do that. Yeah, that might be fun.
Dora would think that would be a fine gift for Barnabas in particular, actually, as a thank you for having been Renard. to be honest.
But Barnabas is not Eric. There
No,
is a knowledge check we could possibly make, and maybe we should if we want to before we
Okay.
move on.
All these names and people. And
Yeah.
Names, people, and the
Yeah.
floating head
Floating
thing.
head.
Let's start with the floating head thing.
Okay.
Anybody can make knowledge religion if you got it.
That's a 20.
Roni knows what that was. That floating head was a creature called a penangolin. Penangolins are horrific vampiric monstrosities. By day, they appear to be a normal humanoid woman, but at night, after midnight, the creature's head rips free from the rest of her body, coils of viscera and entrails dangling from her throat as she launches into the air, seeking blood to sate her unholy thirst. Unlike most undead, the penangolin is more akin to a lich in that she willfully abandons both her mortality and morality to become this creature. They are traditionally female spellcasters, and they go through a process where they undergo numerous heinous acts that symbolize the casting aside of kindness, benevolence, any semblance of feelings other than cruelty. These rituals call for the repeated consumption of blood, bile, tears, and other fluids drawn from captured and tortured innocents. By day, a penangolin is essentially, for all intents and purposes, indistinguishable from a living woman. They do not detect as undead by day. So they can walk around anywhere and would just be just another person.
But we know what she looks like.
Yeah, you know what her face
The
looks
head
like.
doesn't change.
The head does not change.
So
That's
an
why
elven
they want to
woman.
go after. That's why they want to go after midnight.
Let's see, you would know a few things about their abilities.
Are they immune to mind affecting spells?
They're undead. So that answers your question.
But are they when they're in their?
They don't detect as undead, but they still are undead.
So I have insider information here. I know not to use that spell on her
When you see her,
when I see her without using my Phoenix pool.
Nice.
Okay.
okay.
But I think you should still ask the question
I will.
when we first
you
see
know
her.
I will, because it will be 10 weeks from now, probably. I'll have forgotten.
So you know that they are extremely light sensitive. So even if they walk around by day, they probably would wait for overcast days or stick to the shadows. And when they are outside of their body, they are actually staggered when exposed to direct sunlight. It's got to be sunlight. You would also know, let's see, in order to effectively hurt them, it requires silvered bladed weapons. So they've got
Jeez.
DR overcome by silver and slashing. And then I think I can give you one more. They've got decent resistance to cold and fire. You know, they drain blood, and if they drain a woman, if they drain a woman to death, she will rise at the next sunset as a Menanangol. Give me another knowledge religion check to see if Ronnie knows what their spawn
Oh my
are
gosh. That's a 29.
like. Okay. You would think of their spawn as being equally, sometimes even more dangerous than the creature that creates them. Menanangols, again, by day look like a normal living human woman, does not detect as undead. At night, after midnight, oh no, with them it's sunset. After sunset, their upper torso rips away, leaving her lower torso behind. Lower torso is helpless, but the upper torso gains a fly speed and natural attacks. Basically, the upper and lower portions share the same pool of hit points, despite any intervening distance. So if you happen across the stump of a body, and you can hack it to death and maybe kill the torso somewhere else, and you would know... Oh, God. They also drain blood. Ooh, they've got even bigger damage reduction, overcome by, in this case, either good, aligned, or silver weapons. And they are... this is fun. They are vulnerable to light blades. Light blades such as daggers, kukris, rapiers, short swords, sickles, etc., deal double the weapon's base damage on a successful hit against a Menanangol.
Red destiny indeed.
So multiple
What
bodies
do
separate-
Mononagals turn people into?
They don't. They just drain them to death.
So level drain
Let's see.
on these two things.
I'm sure it's con. It's got to be con. Con. And then some names.
I know that we did a shopping trip, but I do want to ask if there's any chance of any kind of alchemist having anything that would cover weapons in silver, like the silver sheen stuff that we had before.
Yes, Centaur could have a dose of that for sure.
Dora has a silver masterwork dagger.
Yep.
As does Grip.
Grip can't use it.
Grip can't use it though.
But he has it.
You can give
Could
it to
give
Dabs.
it to Roni or Dabbler.
Yeah.
I will take your silver dagger then.
Great. And do you want to? Do you want
It
to?
is masterwork.
You may have mine as well.
Thank you.
And do you want to buy
Silver Sheen.
also Silver Sheen?
Yes,
Because that can be applied to Red Destiny if you wish.
exactly.
Great. Done and done. And then, Johnny, why don't you give me, and anybody who can, one knowledge local check on some of these names, and I will let you know what you know. We already know who Mellison is. The two other names that were mentioned were Rumatri and Weiralai.
26.
Yeah. Roni is fairly certain that at one point he believed Weiralai to be the stranger's true name.
God.
Stranger.
So the gang's all here.
Are we
Wonder if
at a
Jane
level
knew
now
that.
where, based on the information that we knew and remembered, that we could make another roll on the stranger?
Yes.
That was planes, right?
It is planes.
Oh,
give
is
me,
it?
Give me a knowledge planes check.
It was Jiggy. 32.
Nice. 28.
I picture in this moment too, Dora, you're still sitting on that pack of divination cards, right?
Oh yeah, the Harrow deck?
Right. So, like when pondering this question, maybe taking the Harrow deck out and looking closely at that one card that reminded you so much of the stranger, you are pretty certain that the stranger is a denizen of Leng. Where is Leng, you may ask?
Where is Ling?
Let's get super Inception-y
Let's.
up in here. We all know what the material plane is, right? In brief, it's like where you all are, what we would call the real world.
The material world.
Though, to be more accurate, it's actually the real universe. The universe of mortals, the place where Golarion circles its sun, along with all the other planets like Castrovel, which is where the elves fled to avoid the cataclysm of Earthfall. It's where Earth is, in a galaxy far, far away. It's the playground and testing ground of mortal life. So tucked in, adjacent to, and coterminous with, and kind of inside the material plane is the ethereal plane. We've mentioned this before. If you don't know what that is, it's the half-life plane that exists alongside the material plane. It's where ghosts live. It's where monsters that can see us, but we don't see them, live. For me, there has never been a better representation of the ethereal plane than the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. When Frodo puts on the ring, it's this crazy-ass black and white, foggy, confusing place. That place where he goes is the ethereal plane. You can see everything and everyone on the material plane, but it all seems distant and confusing, and there's stuff there that you kind of wish you didn't have to see. And then one layer deeper is the dimension of dreams. We talked a little bit about this in Act 1. Dora thought of it as a place tucked inside the ethereal plane. Basically, what the ethereal plane is to the material plane, the dimension of dreams is to the ethereal plane. Coterminous, adjacent, but even harder to reach, even deeper down. And below that, inside of the dimension of dreams, is the plateau of Leng. It's a demi-plane coterminous with the dimension of dreams. We're talking 4 layers deep now. It's nearly impossible to reach, but it's also like right there. It's like right inside the thing that's inside the thing that's inside the thing where you currently stand, but you just can't get there from here. Now, the cycle of mortal life has ways to touch some of these planes. If you die, you make your way through the ethereal plane and the astral plane to the River of Souls, and eventually onto heaven or hell or Elysium or the abyss or whatever. And you can also reach the ethereal plane with mortal magic. the spells are highish level, but you know of them. That's a thing. And mortals can touch, when they're down, the dimension of dreams at times when they fall asleep and their consciousness takes a journey, but there's barely any spells that can get you there. And they're very rare, not commonly known. Dora has seen a few spells that make use of the dimension of dreams a little bit in the Chain of Nights, but other than that, Dora would think of the dreaming as a place one could only visit by means of obscenely powerful occult rituals. And then Leng, that's even further down, harder to get to. We know almost nothing about it. These creatures come from there. Dora would know, denizens of Leng, whew, boy oh boy. They have such disturbingly unusual anatomy, and their anatomy varies from individual to individual, and there's a 50% chance, they have a 50% chance to treat any critical hit or sneak attack against it as a normal hit. Their otherworldly teeth and tongues deal 1d6 points of dexterity drain with each bite. They maintain this spiritual connection at all times to the plateau of Leng, and it grants them fast healing. If killed, their body dissolves into nothingness, leaving behind its equipment, and they reform 4 layers down inside Leng. At which point, they presumably heal right back up and can come back and find you.
Like immediately?
Well, the ways to travel between Plateau of Leng and the material plane are so unknown to you, and denizens of Leng are such a rare thing, you would assume it's not that easy. That there's probably either a period of time
You
or...
have time to loot their stuff, is what you're saying.
Grab their stuff
Just
and run!
to be sure.
You would know they're immune to poison, and they have ghastly resistance to cold and electricity. Spell resistance. They do not breathe. I think that's about what you know.
Cold and electricity?
Yep.
Cold, electricity, poison.
Yep. Connecting some dots here. This is fun.
Yeah, it's a riot.
So
I can't wait to fight one of these things.
As the group of you are checking in with Skywind and making arrangements for Skywind to take the boat out for a day, Dabs is going to head in and get their spell prep done. Are you going by yourself? Are you taking anyone with you?
Considering what's going on with the ship, everyone's busy. I'm going to go by myself.
Okay. So Dabwick, and you're in a town, so you can use your blending ability to hide in plain sight. And now with your Cloak of Elvenkind, you've got this incredibly high stealth bonus.
I could also alter myself to look like any other small or medium creature,
great.
humanoid. So if I don't want to be noticed,
Yeah.
it would be
You
very easy.
just look like a regular
to
old
do.
fish person of Thrushmore.
Yeah.
Generic fish
Yeah.
guy.
So Dabwick's going to find their way to, let's see, I think an alleyway.
There's that grungy area pretty close down by Pier 19.
Yeah.
There are some alleys in there that I think are close enough to the ship that you wouldn't feel like, oh boy, if I get in trouble, I'm a long ways away. Close enough.
Right. Really, this is Dabwick's ritual typically would involve finding an alleyway in a city or a town where they are sitting crisscross applesauce and facing one corner to begin to meditate.
And finding one where there is a mural of Carcosa?
Interesting. Yeah, I think there might be a mural of Carcosa right there too.
Yes.
To consider the things that they've learned today. They're still rattled from the day before. There's an ache in their heart to remember how close they came to death so many times. But preparing for this fight is going to be different from yesterday. We actually may know what we're up against this time. Dabwick tries to recall for a moment one of Casimir's numerous alleyways, but something about the fight in the keep the day before is weighing on them, and they think instead of Corgan beer. the insane city of fey creatures that lurks directly under Casimir. Madness and violence, and they don't want to think about it, but this is where the town of Thrushmore is guiding their understanding this evening, and they must follow this memory until the connection is made clear. So when they hear a voice from their past, the voice of Irost Cold Fury, they remember his lumpy face and bushy eyebrows, and a shuddering sigh breaks from their chest. Dabwick hugs themselves tight and makes out a phrase.
I gotta hand it to you, Dabs.
Memories sometimes have a way of coming to mind in 4K HD and surround sound, right? Dabwick's memories during meditation have a similar effect, and the feelings and the thoughts of the past are vivid. Irost is tapping out his pipe against the stone archway bordering the Admiral's Fen district while rolling out a new pinch of tobacco in the other hand. He's always multitasking. For such an unassuming man, in such a tattered coat, he's always got something going on with his hands.
I gotta hand it to you, Dabs. Your instincts are always on the level.
Aye?
Watch for odd groupings of crows and rats. You were right. I found the right path.
Inspector Irost Coldfury was a PI in Admiral's Fen. Dabwick and Irost became acquainted when Inspector Coldfury opened their public office. Dabwick performed the final inspection. In the years since, Irost grew to recognize and respect Dabwick's unique talents, even if it meant enduring their eccentric personality. Irost didn't dislike Dabwick, but he did find them irritating. This afternoon, however, he seemed eager to engage Dabwick and share his exciting news.
There's an entrance to Corkenbeer right where you suspected.
In the shadows between the Fountain Gate and Old Gatsby.
Yes!
He coughed, laughing and blowing out smoke, biting his pipe with his teeth, waving out a match with one hand and fiddling with something in his coat pocket with the other.
I believe it's the route Altheel and his cronies are using to access the surface. I gotta ask you, though. I get why the rats are attracted to the area. The smell coming up the shaft is wretched. But tell me, Dabs, what's with the crows? What's the deal there?
See? I suspected the Darrow aren't interested in keeping track of their victims' personal trinkets and things, right? And crows are terrific scavengers. They'll return to a place where they can regularly collect pretty things. So if all those poor souls are being taken through the same path, there must be a collection of shiny buttons and pins and buckles in the crow's nest nearby, methinks. Did we crack the case? Inspector Coldfury, what will you do next?
I was figuring I'd have to investigate further if I have any hope of making headway in this missing persons case. Dabwick, I don't mind telling you, I don't want to go in alone. I don't want to go alone. If you're interested, I could ask you to come with me. You'd be paid well. We'd be in the rescue business, which I know you like. Are you interested?
The invitation was incredibly exciting. Go with the inspector, like a sidekick. Dabwick considered the Undercity too dangerous to venture into alone, but with someone as experienced and powerful as the inspector, the prospect wasn't interesting. It was thrilling. And Inspector Coldfury needed the help. Reports of kidnappings in the area had been festering for years, and Coldfury had 2 open missing persons cases that he was able to trace back to a Darrow alchemist named Twain, a 3-armed woman with a reputation for gruesome experiments. Twain had a ring of kidnappers working for her, run by a snaky little Darrow called Altheel, a mesmerist. The inspector decided he wasn't only going to finish his contracts, he wanted to try to stop Altheel's ring altogether, and Dabs agreed to join. That night, entering the tunnel, Dabwick drank their dark vision potion and followed Coldfury closely. The inspector wore magic goggles that gave him the ability to see in the dark, and they passed into the deep without attracting attention. Coldfury had to duck to adjust to the height of the passage, not an issue for Dabwick, and they snuck their way forward and down like this for about a quarter of a mile before they came to a series of networked tunnels. Coldfury's level of skill was shocking. stealth and agility that belied his daily persona in the light of day, a small arsenal of concealed weapons and traps and tools. That night, Dabwick didn't know it, but they discovered there was a leveled vigilante living in Admiral's Fen. And they vowed secretly to themselves that they would honor Iros's trust and keep his secret, even if they were practically giddy to realize the truth. Together they made their way, taking out unsuspecting Darrow guards, avoiding groups and gatherings, listening for cues and looking for clues until they circled their way back to Althiel's holding cells. The plan was to crack the locks any way they could and lead the people out the way they came in. Cold Fury had left recognizable markers at each turn to help make the journey back easier to navigate. Everything was going according to plan, and they were going to do it. They were going to rescue people from this horrible situation. They were going to be heroes. It was reasonable to assume the prisoners would be in bad shape. They had prepared themselves to leave those people whose bodies were too broken to survive. What they hadn't really understood was the mental torture the prisoners would have been forced to endure. So much so that in most cases the prisoners might be physically able to escape and live the rest of their natural lives, but their minds would never be the same. When Dabwick and Cold Fury finally rounded the corner unnoticed, they came upon a menagerie of twitching, drooling, screaming, laughing inmates in an abattoir asylum. A great cavern lined with iron cages, the cages packed with humanoids, but not all the beings in them were alive, and of those alive, barely any of them had a look of anything resembling self-awareness in their eyes. They were hairless or shaved, and they had red, angry scars drawn on their scalps, some of them weeping blood through scabby stitches. They scratched at their scabs and stared into the distance, shitting themselves or laughing until they vomited, gibbering aimlessly into the darkness, some even cannibalizing their dead cellmates. Dabwick's heart fell. Cold Fury snapped into action and called out in common.
Who here can understand the sound of my voice? Come to the front of your cell if you can understand me.
He began heading to the first cell, producing movement, and Dabwick came out of their shock to join him.
We're here, help us, please! Warrior citizen, I'm going to open the cage and I want you to run through that tunnel there. Look for this mark at each intersection to tell you the way to go. Do not stop, do not look back until you breathe clean air again, no matter what you see. Do you understand me? Cold Fury, is that you? Yes, sir, we can do that. Come on, you go first, I'll follow. Who the fuck are you?
Althiel had climbed into the room unnoticed from a tunnel hidden beneath a rock that blended into the walls of the cavern. Cold Fury was just popping the rusty padlock on the cage when Althiel shot him with a bolt from his small crossbow. The inspector's strength was sapped immediately, and he cried out in pain as Althiel loaded another bolt. He glared at Dabwick, locking them in their mesmerist stare, allowing Dabwick to know what's happening to them as Dabwick feels their will drain out beneath them. 3 of the prisoners had enough awareness of what was happening to take the opportunity to run. Cold Fury staggered to a fighting position and threw a tanglefoot bag, but they couldn't fight off the poison, and their aim was compromised. Frightened, Dabwick summoned a floating rock to protect themselves from being targeted and began to retreat after the prisoners. But before they could leave, Dabwick saw Althiel advance on Cold Fury, shooting him a second time with his crossbow and hitting again with his poison-tipped bolts. Cold Fury called out in pain, and Dabwick couldn't run. They dropped the rock shield and summoned a wall of water that shoved the Darrow to the ground, knocking his crossbow from his hand. The combat that followed was brutal. Dabs nearly killed Althiel, but the fucker escaped. And when they finally had a moment to come to Cold Fury's side, it was too late. He had succumbed to his wounds and the Darrow's poison. Dabwick hadn't had his back, and Iroh's Cold Fury was lost. A huge blow for the whole city. On their way back to the surface, Dab found out that the prisoners were reeling from some kind of magical memory loss caused by Althiel's techniques. Making use of the inspector's office, Dabwick had to find ways to comfort and care for them until their minds unclouded and they could return to their lives, all the while wrestling with Cold Fury's death and Althiel's escape, and all they might have done differently if they were more powerful or more experienced. And coming out of the memory, Dabwick finds their gaze falling on the angles of the gables supporting the roof, and they discover that they understand that having more allies on hand in battle, especially when dealing in close combat, can tip the scales in your favor when the odds seem dire. They prepare Summon Nature's Ally 3 for later, and they swear that this time they will not run. They will not let up.
And that's the end of chapter 62. We'll pick up here next time. Thanks, Polly. That was great.
Nice.
Yay!
Dark Nexus is a creation of Plug and Hum Productions. This podcast uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Incorporated, which are used under Paizo's community use policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. This podcast is not published, endorsed, or specifically approved by Paizo Inc. For more information about Paizo's community use policy, please visit paizo.com/communityuse. And for more information about Paizo and Paizo products, please visit paizo.com. That's PAIZO.com. Dark Nexus uses music and soundscapes by Sirenscape. Check them out at sirenscape.com. That's SYRINSCAPE.com. Opening and closing themes, along with additional music, composed by Rob Kauzlaric. Artwork for Dark Nexus is by Matt Wahlquist. Special thanks to Toy, without whose generosity this project would not have been possible. And thanks to DMCP, Richard and Ari, Paul and Shannon, Chris, Scotty, Jason, Jess, Joe, Chelsea, Matt, Dave, Darren, and everyone we've gamed with over the years for all the memories and inspiration.
WTPK.
Oh,
Brilliant. Love it.
Two tag.
That was
Season
good.
2 tag.